Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI, Conversations Without Barriers. I'm your host, Doug from Ontario, Canada. It's 2:30 p.m. In the afternoon. Really chilly day out there today. Hope everybody's having a good start to your weekend. Yeah, wow. Crossfire negotiations with a tyrant or tyrants. That's how the title should have read, probably. Yeah, I think so. Tyrants, meaning Trump and J.D. Vance as the tyrants. Um, well, I mean, the whole world was watching. You yourself probably watched it. You know, something that was supposed to run really smooth. Sign, sign the deal so Donald Trump gets what he wants, and move forward. And later on probably stab Ukraine in the back, without any protection from Russia, which Donald Trump, that's how his negotiation happens. When he strikes a deal, he turns around and stabs you in the back. We're seeing that with these tariffs, and everything that's going to be taking place in just a few short days, if in fact they all do. We're going to find out. How does anyone address a shakedown of the president of Ukraine? I find it absolutely disturbing what took place in the Oral Office. I changed the name from the Oval Office to the Oral Office because that's where people go meet the president in the Oral Office to get a tongue lashing. He should maybe put a sign up in front on top of the door saying Oral Office. Tongue lashings for everyone. That's what it should read at the top of the door in the White House. The president or the so-called president, or maybe the fake president of the United States, and the fake vice president of the United States, berated Zelensky, in this recent meeting between this so-called fake or so-called fake president. So this meeting between the Ukrainian president Zelensky turned into a heated exchange with Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance berating Zelensky. The meeting, which was supposed to finalize an agreement granting the United States access to rare Ukrainian minerals in exchange for ongoing military support. And it wasn't an exchange for ongoing military support. It was, because Donald Trump thinks that the United States should be paid back for, giving the Ukrainian government military equipment, like Canada did, like Germany did, like France did, and all other countries did, United Kingdom, and so on. It's not for military support. And it abruptly ended without a deal. And Trump accused Zelensky of being disrespectful I mean, if you're watching this, um, Zelensky wasn't being disrespectful. He's, trying to explain his situation, and he has said, countless, countless times, he has thanked, you know, the United States for their support. So they end up with this without this deal, and he accused Zelensky of being disrespectful. I think it was J.D. Vance who actually, uh, you know, Donald Trump's sidekick. J.D. Vance accuses um, Zelensky of being disrespectful. And of course, Donald Trump was saying he was being disrespectful and gambling with the lives of millions of people. The situation has drawn criticism for various reasons, and some calling it an embarrassment. Um, you know, I got to say, to the Republicans, in the federal government and stuff like that, you're spineless. You're absolutely just spineless, like Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Really, honestly, you know, this thing about being American, and you're pounding your fists on your chest like King Kong, like you're the leader, of the free world. Which, by the way, there's no such thing as a leader of the free world. Every country has a prime minister, or a president. But besides that, so of course it is drawing criticism from various uh, uh, countries, calling it an embarrassment and a failure of American leadership, right? And it's understandable, for these countries to come to the aid of Ukraine and the president Zelensky, um, on his behalf, given the high stakes in this public nature of this confrontation. You know, the impact relationship between the United States and in Ukraine. All wounds heal, but it leaves scars. It's a poignant way of putting it in a realm of international relations. The scars can shape policies, alliances, and even national identities for years. To come, imagine Ukraine and its peoples will navigate this challenging chapter, and they will do it with resilience. But the memory of such public confrontation will likely linger with both countries days and weeks and years to come. We'll have to work hard to rebuild trust. Well, that's for the Americans to do that. Zelensky shouldn't have to work hard to rebuild trust, because he is on the beat down end of it from J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And how Ukraine will trust the United States again. I've been following the situation for a while, and negotiations, for example, leaving Ukraine out of the talks, the very country that's in this conflict. The United States goes and has uh, negotiation talks with Russia, and leaves out the Ukrainians, who are the ones that were attacked by Russia, the aggressor, Putin. I mean, how do you even talk to somebody, like Donald Trump when he turns around and he calls Zelensky, you know, uh, a dictator? But he never says it to his face, right? Because that's how cowardly Donald Trump is, right? And then he was asked about that, and he said, "Oh, did I say that? I don't remember saying that. I would never say that." And then they play a clip. I mean, not in the White House, but they play a clip of him actually calling him a dictator, when in fact Putin is a dictator, a tyrant. And this fiasco that took place yesterday in the White House, um, that is just, I don't know what you call it, fucking mind-boggling for one. You know, um, it certainly shook the foundation, around the world. When people who have already been in the White House recently, you know, the Prime Minister of Britain, in the French uh, leader as well, most recently. And so Zelensky came to the White House with in good faith, absolutely good faith, right? He wasn't looking for an argument. He wasn't looking for a fight. He wasn't looking to be berated on national television. He came there looking to sign that deal, what they talked about, with this minerals deal that Donald Trump is so interested in, you know. So leaving Ukraine out of these talks, and the Americans only talking with Russia, that's just absolutely ridiculous. When the United States isn't even involved in the war, it's Russia and Ukraine, and you leave out an important piece of the puzzle, for your own interests, and try to make a deal with Russia. Unbelievable. So being Ukraine, this very country in this conflict, and most certainly won't get a resolution to end the war. Secondly, the United States are self-serving their own interest, bribery to get what they want, with no security or reassurance from Russia. And Zelensky made that very clear, that Putin can't be trusted. He will break the peace deal. To reassurance from Russia, if any peace deal would have come about, rising, some valid points, the exclusion of Ukraine, what I said, from the recent US Russian talks, has indeed sparked significant controversy. Many believe leaving Ukraine out of the negotiations undermines the legitimacy and the feasibility in any potential peace agreement. And the Ukraine President Zelensky has expressed his displeasure, stating that Ukraine will not accept any peace deals made without its involvement. And as for the United States' interest, it's clear there are multiple layers at play. And the United States has a strategic interest in the region, including access to the rare minerals and potential economic partnership with Russia. However, this approach has raised concerns about whether the United States is prioritizing its own interests over the security and sovereignty of Ukraine. And finding a resolution that satisfies all parties involved will be challenging, and even more so now. And I know you can never trust a villain Russia or a wolf in sheepskin, the United States. And it's clear of both sides. And that makes sense given the complexities and the historical tensions involved trust in a fragile thing. So especially the international policies where actions often speak louder than words. And finding a path to peace in such a situation require transparency, which you're not going to get transparency out of the United States anyways. And the genuine dialogue and the commitment to the well-being of all parties involved and sharing Ukraine's sovereignty and security should be a priority. But that'll take immense diplomatic efforts. And this is the time now, like that, you know what? Any diplomat efforts and stuff like that, this is the time now we need to leave the fucking United States out of it because they're self-serving. It's their way or the highway. And I say fuck off to that. Other nations around the world, diplomats, can get a peace deal going here. We don't need the United States involvement. Because this is the type of person that you have in the oral office, and I call it the oral office for a reason, because that's the place where people go and get a tongue lashing from J.D. Vance. And since when does the vice president speak over the president of the United States? Isn't J.D. Vance to sit there and shut his mouth, and the president of the United States and a leader of any country that comes into that oral office, they sit there and have a discussion, right? And then only invite J.D. Vance into the conversation. You know, so this priority, but this immense diplomat effort I see right now is that the United States, with the sitting President Trump and his authoritarianism antics, his aggressive manner, even when the Prime Minister of the UK mentioned Canada and their close relationship, Trump cuts him off. We all should be concerned about this dynamics at play here. The President Trump's aggressive and authoritarian style has certainly been a point of contention. And during a recent press conference, this is true, with the UK Prime Minister, Trump did indeed cut him off when Starmer mentioned Canada and the close relationships. And this kind of behavior can be seen as dismissive and undermining to diplomatic nations, and it's understandable, for even Canadians to be pissed off when Trump just keeps pushing, this idea that Canada should become the 51st state. And I don't know, countless times that, we have told this dickhead, we're not interested. And he can't leave this well alone. And no matter where he is, he keeps talking about it. And insulting the Prime Minister of Canada, calling him a governor of Canada. You insult the Prime Minister, you insult every Canadian and every Indigenous person of Canada. We're not interested in becoming the fucking first 51st state, period. We're a sovereign nation, and that's where it stands, and that's where it's to be left. You want to do trade with us? Well, we're open to trade. He needs to stop Trump needs, that is just so fucking disrespectful. Because, during these, a month ago, when he mentioned putting tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and how poorly the United States is being treated, being ripped off by other countries, not just Canada and Mexico. And his relentless attack on Canada, saying that he's subsidizing Canada in the tune of $250 billion. One time it's 100 billion, one time it's 200 billion. Subsidizing us. This what are you fucking giving us money? Right? Are you giving us $250 billion a year? Not very fucking likely. I mean, he doesn't even know what a fucking trade deficit is. He doesn't stand basic 101, economics when it comes to trade. I mean, sure, Donald Trump, you want to give Canada $250 billion a year? We'll be glad. We'll be happy to take it, but that's not the goddamn case. Yeah, there's a trade deficit. And it comes down to, uh, the dollar value. The American dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar. You have more buying power with that kind of money when your dollar is stronger. And there's a trade deficit of something around $46 billion. It's a deficit, is not a subsidy. And you can't even get, he's been trying to correct him on that, and he's just so fucking stupid that he just keeps going on with this. So Canadians get frustrated, when you have an individual who's so incompetent, when it comes to understanding basic 101 economics. It's like people get frustrated because you're trying to explain 1 + 1 = 2, and someone doesn't get that, and you become frustrated over a period of time. So, it is understandable for people to feel frustrated, when leaders act in ways they seem to be this pariah or its own agenda. You know, Donald Trump doesn't even know how to have respectful dialogue, and cooperation. Like I said, Trump has this one-way street agenda. And again, talking about these tariffs, not just on Canada, Mexico, China, Trump lacks negotiation skills, claiming that the United States is being treated poorly, and his exaggerated claims is not credible of anything he says or does. Any negotiation, with a dictator, and that can be challenging to negotiate with someone who has a one-sided agenda. In this confrontational approach, Trump's tactics, such as imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico, China, haven't been indeed controversial, and his claims about the United States being treated poorly in his exaggerated statements have raised questions about his credibility and negotiation skills. And in such situations, it becomes crucial for other leaders and diplomats to remain calm, focused, and being strategic in building alliances. Seeking common ground and emphasizing mutual benefits can help navigate these difficult negotiations. And it's also important to maintain an open channels and communications, and be prepared and to stand firm on key issues. And the Ukraine president, I thought, remained in control. Trump and his sidekick, J.D. Vance, were the aggressors. They went off the rails. And how does anyone build an alliance and common ground in negotiations? And one example is dealing with Donald Trump. What Canada is doing is we're keeping an open dialogue with governors about the tariffs. And Canada is not going to back down And that's something you know really important. You know that it is important to do that, you know. Um, and the president, Zelensky, has indeed shown remarkable composure and control in the face of the aggressive tactics of Trump and his sidekick, J.D. Vance. Not only that, they kicked him out of the fucking White House, too. Show him the door. It's like they picked him up with his arms and legs and fucking tossed him to the curb. Unfucking believable. They might as well have done that. It's like getting thrown out of a bar. You know, with his sidekick J.D. Vance, building alliances and finding common ground in such negotiations. Like I said, Canada and the UK and everybody else, because Donald Trump wants to throw tariffs on everybody around the world. He thinks this is a moneymaker, right? He thinks that's a moneymaker. He's taxing his own people. He's taxing the American businesses. Those are the ones who pay that tariff. But Donald Trump, is so stupid, and a liar that he can't even face his own people and say, oh, yeah, a tariff means that you're going to pay more money for everything that you buy. Right? But he tells the American people, oh, no, the tariffs that we impose on that country, it's the country that pays that tariff, which is not the case. The importer pays that tariff, 25%, 30%, 50%, whatever the case it is. It's a tax. And that's a tax that those companies have to pay to the federal government. And do you think for 1 second that they're just going to eat that tax? They're not going to pass that on to consumers? You'd have to give your head a shake. Because what you buy, whether it's 25% or 50%, that's what those prices are going to go up as. 25%, 50%, whatever the case may be. Donald Trump says the other day, oh, Canada, oh, they stole the automotive industry from us. That we stole it from you. Canada stole the automotive industry from the United States. Ford Motor Company was building cars here in Canada in the mid-'60s. And it was in the mid-'60s that Canada and the United States, knocked down this trade barriers and knocked out these tariffs so we can have free trade between the two countries in the automotive industry. Accusing a country of stealing something when we didn't steal anything, from the United States. This trade agreement that we've had since 2018, 2019, when Donald Trump was first president of the United States, this is his fucking deal. And somehow he feels he's being ripped off, being treated poorly, and you sign this deal. And then in 2025, somehow you got your sorry ass, reelected. And then you accuse Canada of treating you poorly. Trying to, I don't know what are these terrorists, a fucking shakedown? It's like, mafias do shakedowns. It's fucking ridiculous. So, whatever negotiations, requires patience, resilience, Canada's strategy of maintaining open dialogue with with the United States government, about tariffs is a smart move. By engaging with state level leaders, can bypass some of the more confrontational aspects of Trump's administration. Could you fucking imagine, if that was Prime Minister of Canada and they meet in the Oral Office, and then little sidekick J.D. Vance fucking turns around and says to the Prime Minister, "Well, you should be grateful that we're subsidizing you $250 billion." That's just how stupid he is as well, right? Can you imagine what would happen? Prime Minister would get up and tell them both to fuck off. So Trump's administration should work towards more practical solutions. Could you imagine Roosevelt during the Second World War berating Winston Churchill? Could you imagine? Wow. To work towards more practical solutions. It's a testament to the importance of diplomacy and persistence in the international relations. And in the end, it's about finding ways to keep the conversation going, even when the road gets rocky. And that's what Canada is doing. I mean, that's what Zelensky, his purpose was to keep the international relations going, keep the dialogue open, trying to explain his circumstances, to a couple of idiots in the Oral Office. And then J.D. Vance jumping all over him. And then some schmuck, off to the side, Marjorie Taylor Greene's fucking boyfriend or husband or whoever the dickhead is, ridicules Zelensky about, "Oh, don't you own a suit?" Has anybody said anything to Elon Musk when he's in the White House, taking control in the Oral Office, standing there in a black fucking jacket and jeans, fucking hat and sunglasses on? Did anybody fucking say, "Hey, do you not have a suit to wear?" No, they probably wouldn't dare say that to the most richest man in the world. Donald Trump thinks that this bullshit that happened in the Oral Office yesterday. Donald Trump thinks that's good for television. Right? And it just goes to show you, the president and the vice president, beating on their chest like they're king shit. When they're just pieces of shit. It's unbelievable. The world is in shock and awe. After witnessing that beat down, that tongue lashing. If I were Zelensky, I'd be signing no fucking deal with the United States. And a matter of fact, the United States owes him a fucking an apology. But you're not going to get that from the United States, because they just think they're king shit. Think they're the fucking ruler of the roost. Thinking that, and this saying keeps popping up every now and again, and it frustrates the fuck out of me. It really does. I mean, whoever come up with it, I don't know who came up with it. Leader of the free world. I don't know who come up with that. But there's no such goddamn thing. There's no such thing as a leader of the free world. Every country has a prime minister and a president, and certainly, and most certainly not. Donald Trump will never be my fucking leader. I have a leader. I have a prime minister. And yes, we're getting a new prime minister in a few short days. But nonetheless, I have a prime minister. He's not my leader. He'll never be my fucking leader. Someone made that term up. I don't know who it was. I'd probably have to go back and look up that who first ever said that. And that kind of shit fucking irks me too. He's in charge of jack shit, and Jack just left. It's unbelievable. All the support that the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, is getting from the world, from France, and United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, and so on, are standing with him and backing him. You give somebody a fucking tongue lashing and then you fucking throw them out as well. And then you expect them then you expect him to come to his senses. And you expect him to come crawling back and fucking kiss your ass? No, I don't think so. Absolutely not. What does Trump think? So the next day he's going to get on the phone and say, I'm so sorry, Mr. President. I was out of line. I shouldn't, try to talk, about, Russia not being, forthcoming. They're not deal makers. They're deal breakers. Mr. President, I should not have said that. That's what they want. Zelensky needs to stand strong and he needs to stand firm. And issue no apology because he has nothing to be apologetic for. Nothing. It's Trump and his sidekick, Vance, needs to apologize for their ignorance. This is what you get, ladies and gentlemen. You get what you ask for. And you get a couple tyrants like Trump and Vance. Dictators. And they probably taste a lot of dick. In the Oval Office. You get what you ask for. You look at all the firings going in the United States, from Elon Musk, who's not even an elected official, firing everybody, Republicans and Democrats. Don't fucking matter who you are. These tariffs that potentially may be coming on March 4th, on Canada and Mexico, thousands of jobs are going to be lost on both sides of the border. Republican, Democrats alike. The auto industry will just simply shut down. Thousands of people will be out of work. And this is what you voted for, America. That's what you voted for. You voted to become unemployed. That's what's happened. It's like anything else in life. You get what you ask for. I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon. I know I haven't been out here for a while. I got some things going on myself, but anyways, it's not anything to, with this bullshit. But I get out here when I can get out here. But by saying that, I appreciate you coming on my show, listening into my show, and that's great. And I've said this from time to time before, that you, the listeners, are the podcast. Meaning, without you, there is no podcast. So I appreciate my listeners and followers that come on the show when I do get a show up and going and stuff like that. Yeah, it's not, on an everyday thing like a lot of podcasters out there do. My schedule and everything else is different, and it's different every single day. It's different every single weekend. I want to be out here at 8:30 in the mornings on Saturdays and Sundays. Sometimes that's just not possible. So I get out here when I can. And I appreciate you, like I said, coming on the show and listening in. But go out there, enjoy the rest of your weekend. It is March the 1st. And I mean, if you live in part of the United States, like the northern parts of the United States, I mean, it is winter. Spring is on its way. We're going to get there. And hopefully have a really nice spring and leading into the summer months. But it's one day at a time, right? Spring is the 21st of March. So 2.5 weeks, whatever, to go. So anyways, but despite all that, just get out there, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm hoping to get out tomorrow morning. I can post a show up later today. And hopefully, meet that time and just discuss some other things. But thank you for coming on the show and listening. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI, Conversations Without Barriers. I'm your host, Doug, from Ontario, Canada. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.